Of these WikiLeaks, some of them quite troubling if you actually read through them and see what is going on, what has gone on for years. I do wonder, though, if people are fully understanding, if it resonates with folks, if they're, as they think about who they vote for.
Well, here's what we know, folks, what does resonate with them. When they see their health care premiums spiking, when you see Pennsylvania being slated for a 53% increase, or Arizona being slated for a 116% increase, for many, this will become a difference of can they pay rent or can they pay for their health care? And this is where people realize, oh, wait a minute, what's been going on this past 8 years is not the direction that we want to go. This is where people who don't follow politics every day look and say, it's time to make a change.
So you're saying of these three stories, Hillary under FBI investigation, the Clintons selling political access for millions, or Obamacare revealing itself to be a total disaster, Obamacare's number one?
That's the one that has the direct impact on people's lives, where you see how does it impact me, the voter. The Obamacare news is huge. But what the Doug Band information, the 66 million, that reaffirmed what everybody's been thinking, and it reminded them whatever's going on behind the scenes, whatever they're saying in private, whatever these paid speeches and open borders and all this stuff in private, and then yesterday with this FBI news, that they're reopening this investigation. I mean, think about how remarkable this is. 11 days out, we're now at 10 days out. 11 days out, the reopening and investigation. They must have found something big.
Well, this 11 days is a good point, because this is when those undecided voters who maybe, you know, Trump has very high unfavorables, Hillary Clinton has high unfavorables. They're sitting back, they're saying to themselves, maybe I'll just sit this thing out. They actually go to the polls. Where do you see the undecided, the independent undecided voters moving in these last 11 days?
Well, the independents and undecideds are really looking for a change, and this is a change election. You see upwards of 3/4 of the country think that we're going on the wrong track, and they're looking for someone to put it back in the right direction. And that's where Mr. Trump's message of optimism, of economic growth, securing our borders, renegotiating these trade deals, these are all policies that can help American voters. And even talk about going on offense. Mr. Trump has had a very clear message, much different from Republicans in recent cycles, of being a president for all Americans, with his plan this week for an American urban renewal, rebuilding the infrastructure, school choice,
He's
jobs.
going to Michigan. Can he win Michigan?
Yes. Absolutely. We show the race. We show the race very tight. A couple other developments. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Look at what Hillary Clinton is doing and saying. Last Saturday, Hillary Clinton was in Pennsylvania. This coming Monday, she'll be in Pennsylvania again. Pennsylvania is supposedly one of the bluest of the blue.
That's a great point.
Mr. Trump's putting in play. And the one other thing I'd say, too, the Clinton campaign went up with an ad buy in Wisconsin yesterday. Now, their spin was...
That usually shows where they're concerned.
Well, they're trying to say it's to help down-ballot Democrats. No.
No, you're right.
So don't just listen. Look at what the Clinton...
They are focused on Pennsylvania. That is true.
It is.
It's weird, too.
And keep in mind, with Pennsylvania, it's primarily election day voting. It's a late-breaking state.
Right.
We're going to be there a couple of times between now and the election. Mr. Trump has a great chance to win Pennsylvania.
Jason Miller, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jason.
Crazy election keeps going.
All right, thanks, Jason. Coming up here on the show, Donald Trump called this email bombshell back in the summer.
I don't like Uma going home at night and telling Anthony Weiner all of these secrets.
Well, it's a good point, of putting them on his laptop, for that matter. Did anyone give Trump credit for calling Anthony Weiner a major security risk?
Plus, does Hillary Clinton need to fire Uma Abedin? Dana Perino is on the campaign chaos. You do not want to miss this. It's next. There she is. Come on in, Dana.
Is why we are calling on the FBI to release all the information that it has. Even Director Comey noted that this new information may not be significant, so let's get it out.
It might not be as rigged as I thought. Right? Right? The FBI. I think they're going to right the ship, folks. I think they're going to right the ship.
Right the ship. Dana Perino is here to help us right this ship this morning.
Help us.
I mean, that's a tall order.
It is a tall order.
They didn't tell me I was responsible for that.
Can you do it? Can you do it? So Republicans are super excited this morning, of course. They
Cartwheels down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Right. It may not even just be about Donald Trump, but these down-ballot candidates. How big of a deal
Well,
is this?
I do think I think it's true that we don't know what's in them. It's true that Comey was very vague. It's true that Democrats are excited and that, I'm sorry, that Republicans are excited and Democrats are like, what in the heck are you doing, Comey? So separate that out. I actually think that Republican candidates in some of these battleground states, like the ones that were getting very close, Missouri, Indiana, Pennsylvania, this will help them a lot in the last 10 days because instead of having to talk about Donald Trump all the time, they can just focus all of their attention on the Democrats and Hillary, and they can say to their opponent, you tell me why you support Hillary Clinton. Are you comfortable with this?
So
and it changes the topic for them going into
Well, that's exactly right. And it reminds all of us that Carlos Danger is not just this embarrassing tabloid figure, but he was, in effect, part of the inner circle because he's married to Hillary Clinton's closest aide.
Can I tell you, so yesterday, I tend to think of things through a press secretary lens.
Yes.
So yesterday, I see the news break. I'm like, wow, that is a big deal. About an hour later, Gutfeld sends an email to the 5 team. And it's the information about Anthony Weiner, that this is connected to the sexting. And I belly laughed so hard, just because it's like an episode of Veep.
You can't make it up.
No, you could not. And as a press secretary, you can imagine that they were like, I'm going to need a raise.
Okay? You saw Joe Biden's reaction to it when he heard. He was live doing an interview, and he said, oh, I didn't hear this. Oh, gosh.
And
oh, gosh. He didn't know what to say.
And as press secretary, you have to have reporters holding, like, up the front page of the New York Post. Now, this is not something you want to have to see with 10 or 11 days left in the election.
I had a friend email me last night and says, how do you explain this election to somebody from overseas? That don't know Anthony Weiner.
Or outer space.
And doesn't read the New York Post.
Fair. Is she going to have to fire Uma Abedin because, as Tucker mentioned, now they're all sort of involved in this? She's been Hillary Clinton's closest aide for years.
I saw Carl mention that. I don't know, because they've weathered the storm thus far. One of the things that one source inside, the problem is we don't have enough information, so much of this is speculative. That makes me a little uncomfortable. But they've weathered the storm thus far. And if the emails are duplicates of what they've already seen, does she need to resign or be fired? I would say no. I don't know. I don't have enough information to say whether she actually is a distraction, and if that even helps Hillary at this point.
So NBC is saying that there's, she's not in any of these emails. Right. We don't know any of that.
We don't know anything.
This is all on Twitter. Is it, and I don't know anything more than anyone else knows, but is it plausible that, it would seem very reckless to me that Comey would do this unless there was something real at the heart of it, right?
Well, yes, and I worked at the Justice Department for about almost a little under a year right after 9/11, so got a little taste of how they operate in terms of very cautious.
Yes.
But I also don't know what was going on internally at the FBI.
Right.
So, and how much they had enough to look at. And I'm sympathetic to the idea that what if they have this whole tranche of emails, they go to him and they say, boss,
what are you
look
gonna do
at
with
this. And if he sat on it and didn't say anything until after the election, he's also
clearly he made that decision.
And Ron Hosko was on. I don't know if you caught him earlier on the show, former assistant director of the FBI, and what he said is he worked with Comey, of course, and he said, look, the guy he doesn't say mother may I. He doesn't have the White House calling him asking for a favor. He'll do what he's going to do on his own without people calling him and telling him what to do. And he said it's very likely that there could have been FBI agents that came to him with these concerns, and he wanted to be as transparent as possible.
Right. It's interesting. There's a rare moment of agreement between the Trump and the Clinton campaign. Yesterday, Mike Pence tweeted, we think that Comey should release all the emails. We get it all out there. And that's what John Podesta from the Hillary campaign said, too. Let's just see it all. So it is a little ironic that Hillary Clinton is calling for full transparency at this point. But I think if I were in their position, I would ask for the same thing.
I would do the same thing.
But no matter what's in it. Just let the chips fall where they may.
Do you want politicians influencing the course of a criminal investigation, no matter what? I mean, obviously, it's inopportune for voters, for all of us to have this drop right before an election. On the other hand, isn't there a higher concern that a criminal investigation remains pristine and uninfluenced by?
Well, let's just say, if the shoe were on the other foot, and it was Republicans in that position, would we all be saying the same thing?
I agree.
I think the answer is no.
I'm just saying, but isn't our
yes, ultimately,
what we care about most is justice, right?
Well, especially, look, but the justice, especially in that case, is about Anthony Weiner having texting of a sexual nature with a 15-year-old girl. Yeah. That is crime.
Right.
For sure.
That's that. And now it's separate. They find ancillary evidence from a computer that has to do with an investigation that's never closed. I can see where the Clinton campaign is saying, you have to give us more information to go on 11 days before an election. This is not Venezuela.
Right. So you've talked a lot about the importance of the independent vote and how they're ultimately going to decide the outcome of this election. When you look at this past week for Hillary Clinton, whether it's this WikiLeaks dumps, the Obamacare premiums going up, or this email investigation being reopened, what do you think impacts people the most?
Oh, probably Obamacare, and then maybe this. But also there was a Clinton corruption questions, right? The memo that goes from Doug Band of Teneo to all the clients saying, hey, I'm going to be able to get all this money for access to Bill Clinton that I have. But here's the other thing for Democrats. Like, they cannot buy a break this week because the GDP numbers come in yesterday at the highest they've been in a long time, 2.9% for the third quarter. that didn't even get a blip on the radar
know.
screen. And I would imagine that President Obama is pulling what's left of his hair out.
No
saying,
headlines today on that.
We have 2.9% growth. We should get some credit. And they're not going to be able to. No one's going to talk about anything for about 10 days. But I do think that Comey is going to have to say something more. Maybe it's not going to be the full information, but people are going to, and people deserve more information. Or else we're just going to speculate for 10 days.
Well, you've been
We don't
super
do
busy.
that.
You've been super busy this whole campaign season. You've got a new TV show, you've got new podcasts, you've been traveling like crazy, but you also wrote a brand new book.
Yes.
So you needed to take some time out to spend some time with the dog.
There's
Jasper.
Jasper.
It's been a good distraction. Let me tell you about Jasper. We'll bring him on the set someday for you. It's a story about my love affair with dogs my whole life, growing up on the ranch and then all the way up through this crazy dog that's been with us at Fox News for 4.5 years. And the back half of it is these Photoshop galleries, which I think is modern art, done by a guy named 5Fan Photoshop that I met on Twitter. He is exceedingly humble and is staying behind the scenes and anonymous. And I think we have another picture that he did just for you.
Well, he's a beautiful dog. Really?
Yeah, let's see. I think this is... There he is. The three of you interviewing Jasper on set, so I'll make sure to get you a printout of that.
You're so good with dogs.
I love dogs.
You are good with dogs.
I love dogs.
Do you know he has a girl dog named Dave?
Yes, I've never understood that.
In that interview,
Dave sleeps in the bed.
In that interview, when Jasper was on the show, we really got to the heart of the matter.
He really did.
We really drilled deep down.
What is he going to be for Halloween, by the way?
Captain America.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to Madison, Connecticut today to RJ Julia, an independent bookstore up there, and so he gets to go with me.
So America's dog is Captain America.
Go out
Totally
and buy
makes
the
sense.
book. Your last book was a big hit. Let me tell you about Jasper.
Thank you.
Is now out.
And
out.
go on your Instagram, because I follow you, and you have the best photos of your dog. Every day, it makes my day.
My wife always says to me, nobody wants to see pictures of your dog, and I pointed to your book as evidence that's not true.
Or yeah, Dana's Instagram, which is
I like your wife. She's tough.
She's married to this guy. Gotta be.
Yes.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you,
Great to
Dana.
see you. Donald Trump always says people should have been locked up for doing far less than Hillary Clinton has done, and it turns out he's right on that point. A mother whose son is in jail right now has a message for Hillary Clinton straight ahead.
And did the Donald see this coming?
I don't like Uma going home at night and telling Anthony Weiner all of these secrets.
Oh, boy. Is he going to get credit, though, for predicting Clinton's latest crisis months before it even happened?
To the investigation into Hillary's secret server and her ties to Anthony Weiner, details that nobody saw coming except, apparently, for Donald Trump. Watch this.
Her #1 person, Uma Abedin, is married to Anthony Weiner, who's a sleazeball and a pervert. And I'm not saying that. I mean, that's recorded history, right? I don't like Uma going home at night and telling Anthony Weiner all of these secrets, okay?
Yes, he's a sleazeball and a pervert. I remember people laughing at that quote when he said it, but actually, it turned out to be remarkably prescient. Was Anthony Weiner a security risk? That's a real question this morning. Here to weigh in, Kelly Riddell. She's deputy opinion editor of the Washington Times. Kelly, it's great to see you. A sleazeball and a pervert, and yet his computer, thousands of emails that may have been relevant to national security. We don't know, but it looks very possible. What do you make of Trump's remarks?
Donald Trump, the, oracle of this election. I mean, he said it back in August, and he was largely mocked by the mainstream elite media, who would say, ugh, why does he even get down into these tabloid matters? Anthony Weiner, it's so distasteful. And yet here we are. Yesterday, the big this case, and Anthony Weiner holds the keys to it. Huma Abedin was one of the only people who had an email that was certified on Hillary Clinton's private, server. So it is only reasonable to think that she'd be emailing her husband throughout the whole thing on this server.
Well, of course, and I have to say, I've watched this from the very beginning. I know Anthony Weiner, and it never occurred to me. If Huma Abedin is Hillary Clinton's closest aide, that means that her husband is part of Hillary's inner circle. I don't know why I didn't connect the dots. I'm not very smart, it turns out. So you watched all of this break yesterday. It was a huge deal. You also watched the press reaction to it. Tell us, what was the reaction from working reporters to this news that the FBI is opening its investigation?
Well, the first thing is they were all shocked, right? Because on Monday, they're reporting about Hillary Clinton's transition into the White House, predicting who her cabinet members were going to be, basically saying that she's now playing in all of these states like Arizona, and it's going to be a wipeout. So they were like, oh, no. And then, all of a sudden, it becomes James Comey. He's the villain. He's all of a sudden a partisan hack. Back in July, they loved him and lauded his opinion. And now you have people like Paul Krugman coming out and basically saying that, you know, he's working, he's unfairly interjecting himself in the political process, and this is an injustice.
Well, here's one from David Gregory, who, until viewers intervened, hosted the Sunday show for NBC. Watch this.
What is also striking is the extent to which the FBI director of the United States is allowing himself to be interjected into this political campaign. Unprecedented that he would have released the information he released after a decision not to recommend indictment. You just don't see that done ever.
It's unprecedented in a breathy way, for sure. Is it unprecedented, do you think?
I mean, it's unprecedented that the person running for president would have a homebrewed email server, lie about it for an entire year, put national security at risk, is now under another FBI investigation, and she could become the next president. That's unprecedented. It all ends up to Hillary Clinton.
It's a very good point. Thanks a lot, Kelly. Great to see you this morning.
Thank you.
Donald Trump always says people have been locked up for doing less than Hillary Clinton did with her emails, and on that point, he is right. A mother whose son is in jail right now has a message for Hillary Clinton, and that is next. Plus, sources tell Fox News that James Comey broke with Loretta Lynch and the DOJ about the
Donald Trump sounding off on the FBI reopening its investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails.
For all of the people that have suffered for doing so much less, including just recently, 4-star General James Cartwright, General Petraeus, and many others, perhaps finally justice will be done.
Well, many others, that's what we're about to get to. Until now, there has been a double standard for Hillary Clinton when it comes to these classified documents. One man thinks so, U.S. Navy sailor, that's Christian Saucier. He went to jail for taking photos in a classified area of a submarine back in 2009. No evidence he ever shared those photos. Saucier's mother, Kathleen, visited her son in prison yesterday as the news about Hillary Clinton broke, and she joins us now. Kathleen, good to see you this morning. You hadn't planned to visit your son yesterday after you learned about this news, right?
No, we had a scheduled visit. We were going, myself, his wife, and his daughter, one-year-old daughter, were going to visit, and I heard about the story breaking from someone that sent me a text. So I had about 15 minutes with my son before I was asked to be on Risk and Reward last night, and I was able to let him know that, you know, as Donald Trump said, possibly justice will be served. I'm still not convinced. There isn't a double standard, so I'm hopeful that people will step up to do what's right and hold Hillary Clinton and her staff to the same standards they hold all American patriots in the United States.
1 year in prison for mishandling classified info is what your son got. What did your son say when he learned of the news about this latest revelation about these emails on Huma Abedin's computers and Anthony Weiner tied to all of this? What did he say to you?
What he said to me was, and I'm going to get tearful a little bit, was, you know, Mom, I thought I stepped up to join the Navy to serve my country, but maybe this is how I'm serving my country, is raising awareness of the double standard so that all people like myself and others who proudly serve, as well as other patriotic Americans, will be held to the same standard as those that should serve and protect us, such as Hillary Clinton is attempting to do by running for President of the United States. We started a Facebook page, American Patriots Against Double Standards, and it's all about other people and their story, and I hope that people will get on that page and share it and like it and follow our story. We found out yesterday that I found out that my son will not be able to have any lessened sentence in federal prison because of the way the judge sentenced him. He has to do the full year. We're disappointed in that, but we expect and acknowledge that my son has accepted responsibility for taking 6 photos when he was in. He's serving his time, and I'm proud of him. As many have said, I'm proud of his service and who he is as an American.
Let's take a look at, so these are the photos that your son took in the submarine. What happened to him after this, and what are these pictures of? Did he ever share them?
Right, so I can't see them from where I'm at, but I'm expecting that you're putting up the photos that were disclosed during the sentencing hearing. So he took photos, 6 of them in a classified area. One thing I want to state is in 2009, when those photos were taken, there was no cell phone ban on submarines during that time. Many other sailors were taking photos as well. Actually, 2 sailors were brought to light during the sentencing time that they received a reduction in rank and a fine of $550. And one of them has now been recently promoted to an officer position. So there's obviously a double standard within the military as well.
Did what Hillary
My
Clinton...
son did not share those photos.
He didn't share those photos, and he also destroyed them. Is what Hillary Clinton did, in your mind, worse than what your son did?
They're both mishandling classified information. Both of them had classified information on an instant device. My son's was at the lowest level of classification, 6 photos, Hillary Clinton, multiple emails that were transmitted to who knows where and who knows who saw those photos. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, she's dangerous. She's dangerous to our national security, and she is definitely unsafe and dangerous to the United States of America if she were to become President of the United States.
All right, Kathleen Saucier, mother of the sailor, Petty Officer First Class Christian Saucier, who's doing 1 year in federal prison for those 6 photos. Kathleen, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Clayton. Please pray for...
The Democratic nominee for president, she's running. She's now under investigation again by the FBI.
A bombshell that could reshape the 2016 race as we know it.
The FBI, after discovering new emails, is reopening their investigation into Hillary Clinton.
An even more bizarre turn than anyone could have ever predicted.
It was 4 devices that were taken by the FBI as part of that investigation.
They're from the investigation of New York Congressman Anthony Weiner.
11 days before a presidential election. And understand that
it's got to be big.
It's got to be big.
Hillary Clinton's corruption is on a scale we have never seen before.
This new information may not be significant, so let's get it out.
If Hillary Clinton wanted information out there, why is it taking so long for her to explain the server?
We must not let her take her criminal scheme into the Oval Office.
They could arrest her, they could indict her, they could send her to jail.
I mean, the whole idea, the whole notion that Huma Abedin would allow this sleazy pervert husband of hers access to her computer is mind-boggling.
This is... what the hell is happening?
This goes to the heart of our constitutional republic, and you don't do this in the United States of America.
Woo!
The sleazy pervert that Geraldo was referring to. Front page New York Post, and this could be the bombshell, the big October surprise in it after a series of 3 different big October surprises for the Clintons.
Unreal. Happy Saturday morning.
But how did the rest of us miss that guy, can you put the picture up again? Mr. Carlos Danger Esquire was at the molten core of the Hillary Clinton volcano. Like, he was in the inner circle. Why didn't we get that?
You know, even if you were writing a television show, which they do all the time about campaigns and about working in the White House, you still can't make this up. You cannot make up what has happened yesterday.
You'd be fired immediately for florid prose if you wrote this.
Absolutely. Well, here at Fox, I mean, we usually know our rundowns hours before the show. You saw the montage from yesterday. All of our primetime shows totally blew up their show. I mean, this is such a big deal, and this, I think, really changes how we all talk about this election.
And that's why we got this Fox News alert for you this morning. The FBI back on Hillary Clinton's case. Brand new emails now under review as the Democratic nominee calls on FBI Director James Comey to release everything they have.
And we have Fox News team coverage this morning. John Roberts is in Golden, Colorado following the Trump campaign. But first, Mike Emanuel has the latest details in this investigation, the fallout from the Clinton camp. Mike, you are in Chappaqua, New York, where the Clintons are. What do you have?
Abby Tucker Clayton, good morning to you. It was an October surprise from an unlikely source when the FBI director told congressional leaders there is more to investigate. Hillary Clinton and her campaign team were on the way to Iowa when news broke that would create a political earthquake 11 days before Election Day. Federal law enforcement officials discovering emails deemed to be pertinent to the closed investigation into Clinton's private email server. That bombshell left the Democratic nominee and her senior aides scrambling. Last night, Clinton did a hastily called news conference pushing Director Comey to explain what caused him to take these steps at a critical time in the campaign.
The director himself has said he doesn't know whether the emails referenced in his letter are significant or not. I'm confident, whatever they are, will not change the conclusion reached in July. Therefore, it's imperative that the Bureau explain this issue in question, whatever it is, without any delay.
Director Comey sent a letter to FBI employees writing, quote, "We don't ordinarily tell Congress about ongoing investigations, but here I feel an obligation to do so, given that I testified repeatedly in recent months that our investigation was completed. I also think it would be misleading to the American people were we not to supplement the record." Fox has confirmed the emails were found in the probe of disgraced former New York Congressman Anthony Weiner's alleged sexting of a teenage girl. Weiner is the estranged husband of Clinton's longtime key aide, Huma Abedin. The New York Times is reporting it is tens of thousands of emails belonging to Abedin on Weiner's laptop. Fox has reported that it is a significant amount of information and that this probe will not be wrapped by Election Day. Abby, Tucker, Clayton.
All right, Mike Emanuel for us this morning in Westchester, New York. Thanks, Mike.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mike. So there are a lot of legal questions here about how this happens and what's going to happen next. We're going to bring in, appropriately, Judge Andrew Napolitano by phone this morning. Judge, you there?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. So put this in context for us. Our assumption is it's got to be big if Comey is doing this 11 days out. Is that a fair assumption?
I think it is a fair assumption. Remember, Comey has been under tremendous below-the-radar screen pressure from the younger FBI agents who actually worked on this case and from retired FBI agents who view the FBI, sadly, very differently than the one for which they worked, to re-examine evidence and to reopen the investigation. I would like to think that he made his decision on the basis that he announced yesterday on the basis of true evidence that came before him and not on the basis of political pressure applied at him. But I can tell you from sources from whom Fox has communicated on a regular, consistent, systematic basis that the pressure has been relentless. Now, having said that, one of the more poignant statements of the past 24 hours has been our colleague Geraldo Rivera. How could Huma Abedin have permitted secret, top secret, confidential, the three categories of classified materials, to be put on a laptop which was shared by her now estranged husband?
Right.
So the question remains, what are these things? Has the FBI not seen them before? Might this have been a shelter for emails that Mrs. Clinton and her IT experts managed to get off of her server? Or does the FBI not know yet, because of the volume of these, if they fit into confidential, secret, or top secret categories?
Right. We don't know the contents of these emails. Could they be duplicates? Could they be the ones that Hillary Clinton were deleted on her server? They are actually on Huma Abedin's laptop. But I want to ask you the legal question about Huma Abedin. What is she facing this morning?
Well, she has, we don't know if the FBI and the Justice Department, which was handing out what it called immunity, they were technically not immunity, they were promises not to prosecute on the basis of what the individuals told the FBI. We don't know if Huma Abedin received one of those, Clayton. If she did, and if a court were to enforce it, that would carve out a great deal of the charges available to the FBI. If she did not, then Mrs. Abedin would be facing the similar charge that Hillary Clinton was facing, failure to secure state secrets that were reposed to you for safekeeping. When she was number one in Mrs. Clinton's office, or number three in the State Department, depending upon how you count the hierarchy, she too had a top security clearance. That imposed upon her the same burden that was imposed upon Mrs. Clinton to keep these secrets in a safe place. Not share them with your spouse, particularly a spouse as reckless as Anthony Weiner.
Right. And by coming out 11 days before this election, James Comey has essentially gone against what Loretta Lynch and the protocol of the FBI and the Justice Department by coming out just a few days before this election. Now you have Democrats, Judge, who are really upset about how this is being handled, saying not only are they reopening this investigation, which they don't think is fair, but also there's really no information that James Comey has given out to the public about why they have reopened it. Do you think they have a point and that he should give more information at this point?
Well, I think they have a point. Now, I'm chuckling a little bit because I've been on the record and I've been arguing for months that there's enough evidence here to charge, indict, and convict. And I've been arguing since July 5th that the decision not to prosecute her was wrong. But I also think it was wrong for him to come out yesterday the way he did. He has no obligation to reveal to the Congress or to the public the reopening of an investigation, particularly when he's not able to say what the evidence is or how grave it is or what she's going to be charged with. If they had already done their homework, he could very well say, we've decided to recommend to the Justice Department they should be charged with the following 5 charges, and here's the evidence. But not having said that, he's placed the country 11 days right before Election Day in a sort of walking on eggshells. Is this stuff about Huma Abedin, or is it about who's not running for president, or is it about Hillary Clinton, who is?
Right. So I mean, the speculation at this point is this was a prophylactic against the charges he would expect, criticism he would expect, if Hillary was elected and it came out later that he knew about this ahead of time and didn't say anything about it.
You know, you're right on the mark. He faced a damned if you do and damned if you don't. If she gets elected, and it turned out around Thanksgiving that he knew about this in October and sat on it, he'd be severely criticized. On the other hand, now he's released it. He apparently himself doesn't even know what it is, and he's being criticized.
Right.
Let me say this. It was wrong. It was wrong for him not to have recommended indictment for political reasons. It is equally wrong for him if he reopened this investigation for political reasons.
Right.
As much as I have problems with Mrs. Clinton as a human being and as a candidate for president, she has the same constitutional rights as the rest of us. And this drip, 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 if we have something on you, but we're not going to tell you what it is reprehensible and way wide of the mark of the Justice Department regulations.
All right. Judge Napolitano, great to have you here this morning. Great
A man of principle, speaking of.
You know what
Thanks,
you're talking
Judge.
about.
All right, well, we want to get right now to the Donald Trump campaign, where the Republican nominee is praising the FBI for its decision to reopen the case.
That's where we find John Roberts. He's live for us in Golden, Colorado this morning. John, good to see you.
Abby Clayton Tucker, good morning to you. What a difference a day makes. Donald Trump goes from criticizing the FBI now to praising the FBI. And the big question, how much of an effect is this going to have on the race? Certainly a lot of other things have been influencing the race. Let's put up the latest ABC News tracking poll. Now has Hillary Clinton just 2 points ahead, 47 to 45. That is a move of 10 points to the positive for Donald Trump since last week when they began tracking this thing. Of course, Donald Trump just got a big gift for his campaign from the FBI. He warned months ago he was concerned about Anthony Weiner being in proximity to potentially classified information, and now he gets a chance in the next 11 days to hammer Hillary Clinton on lack of judgment and corruption. Listen to what he said yesterday in Manchester, New Hampshire.
This is bigger than Watergate. This is bigger than Watergate, in my opinion. This is bigger than Watergate. Hillary bleached and deleted 33,000 emails after receiving a congressional subpoena. That alone, to me, there were more serious things done. But how does it get much more?
And here's a quick snapshot of how things are going in the state of Florida with early voting. When it comes to absentee, the mail-in votes, the Republicans are ahead, 55,663. In in-person early voting, the Democrats are up 37,791. So just in the raw returns, that net is 17,872 to the good for Republicans. Now, not to say how people are actually voting, just by party affiliation, that's what we're seeing in Florida. And just one point of perspective here on everything that we're seeing, and Abby, you've talked about writing a plot for a TV show. If you went to a producer with a plot that said a failed politician mailing a picture of his to a 15-year-old girl might change the outcome of a presidential election, they'd say, "Are you kidding? Nobody would believe that."
Right. And the
I still don't believe it.
The writers would say, that's
crazy.
too implausible. We can't write that. That's not going to happen. And yet that's the case this morning.
That's where we are.
That's where we are. John.
John Roberts
Good to
is
see you.
in
Thank you.
Golden, Colorado. Thanks, John.
Unreal. Just can't make any of this up. All right. So how are Democrats defending Hillary Clinton this morning? Clinton supporter Richard Goldstein will debate Tucker next. That'll be interesting.
And someone forgot to tell Joe Biden about the whole Hillary email thing. Watch this.
I don't know where these emails came from. What
apparently Anthony Weiner.
Well, oh God, Anthony Weiner.
Yes, he speaks for many Democrats this morning. The question is the Clinton campaign imploding. More ahead. So a massive stink bomb went off in Washington yesterday with the FBI's announcement that the investigation into Hillary's email has been reopened only 10 days before an election. What does this all mean? Joining us now to react, Democratic strategist and Hillary Clinton supporter Richard Goodstein. Richard, great to see you this morning. Very game of you to come.
This is part of the plan. I don't know. You're falling for the trap. I'm just letting you know.
Okay. Yeah. We're all actors in your play.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm not claiming this is going to convince a lot of people to vote for Trump. Probably some. I think it's definitely going to convince some people not to vote for Hillary because she is under FBI investigation. Who wants a newly elected president in that position?
Right. Let me just start by saying, isn't it odd that Anthony Weiner's under investigation for sexting underage girls?
Yes.
Whereas Donald Trump, who's on the ticket, bragged about walking in on naked underage girls at his beauty contest, and he grabs strangers by the junk. He's on the ticket. I'm not saying that, I don't know how you compare the two. He's running for president. Anthony Weiner's not.
I don't actually think they were underage girls in Trump.
No.
But whatever.
No, I think they had said they were.
Here's the point. I mean, Democrats have been making a moral case against Trump. He's disgusting. He's a fascist. He's just not a good enough person to be president. Now, all of us have awakened to the fact that Carlos Danger, or as you call him, Anthony Weiner, former congressman, was in Hillary's inner circle to the point where emails pertaining to her campaign are on his creepy laptop, his laptop that you wouldn't touch. What does that say about her judgment that Anthony Weiner's in her inner circle?
So she's sending emails to Huma, and presumably she's got a passcode, and we have absolutely no... Look, even Comey says in his letter to Congress, we don't know what we're talking about. Nobody's reviewed these emails. Right. We don't know whether they're significant. We certainly don't know whether they're classified. So, look, I understand why Hillary opponents are jumping to conclusions, because that's all they got to go on right now. Trump has been so reviled by Republicans, calling him a racist, bigot, xenophobe, et cetera, that's basically got to be what they can run on, because otherwise, Democrats say get out and vote, Republicans, let's suppress the vote.
I'm not even jumping to conclusions. I have no idea what's in these emails.
Exactly.
I know that Hillary Clinton is under FBI investigation, and that is prima facie a big deal. My question is, because she always finds someone to blame, who is it this time? Is it the right-wing conspiracy in Loretta Lynch's Department of Justice? Is it the right-wing media? Or is it, as it always is, sexism? You think this is the result of sexism?
So, look, I think Jim Comey had an original sin, which was not to saying prosecute or don't prosecute back in July, but having all this talk about it, right? Disclosing raw material from the FBI. Now, I think he's compounded it by having the sense of obligation that he's got to disclose the fact that they found some emails that may be totally unrelated, okay? So I think that the burden's on him. It's not just Hillary asking for it on the Trump campaign. It's Chuck Grassley and other Republicans saying, tell us what you know. This is unfair to the voters. So I don't think Hillary's going to be blaming anybody, except the FBI's got to kind of, they broke with precedent. The FBI broke with precedent. So come on, be honest with me.
I just don't want her to undermine confidence in the system, because that's bad.
That would never happen.
Richard Goodstein, it's great to see you this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
What was it like behind the scenes when Hillary Clinton got blindsided by the news yesterday? Ed Klein.
Of these WikiLeaks, some of them quite troubling if you actually read through them and see what is going on, what has gone on for years. I do wonder, though, if people are fully understanding, if it resonates with folks, as they think about who they vote for.
Well, here's what we know, folks, what does resonate with them. When they see their health care premiums spiking, when you see Pennsylvania being slated for a 53% increase, or Arizona being slated for a 116% increase, for many, this will become a difference of can they pay rent or can they pay for their health care? And this is where people realize, oh, wait a minute, what's been going on this past 8 years is not the direction that we want to go. This is where people who don't follow politics every day look and say, it's time to make a change.
So you're saying of these three stories, Hillary under FBI investigation, the Clintons selling political access for millions, or Obamacare revealing itself to be a total disaster. Obamacare's number one?
That's the one that has the direct impact on people's lives, where you see how does it impact me, the voter. The Obamacare news is huge. But what the Doug Band information, the 66 million, that reaffirmed what everybody's been thinking in recent cycles of being a president for all Americans, with his plan this week for an American urban renewal, rebuilding the infrastructure, school choice,
He's
jobs.
going to Michigan. Can he win Michigan?
Yes. Absolutely. We show the race. We show the race very tight. A couple other developments. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Look at what Hillary Clinton is doing and saying. Last Saturday, Hillary Clinton was in Pennsylvania. This coming Monday, she'll be in Pennsylvania again. Pennsylvania is supposedly one of the bluest of the blue.
That's a great point.
Mr. Trump's putting into play. And the one other thing I'd say, too, the Clinton campaign went up with an ad buy in Wisconsin yesterday. Now, their spin was...
That usually shows where they're concerned.
Well, they're trying to say it's to help down ballot Democrats. No,
you're right.
So don't just listen. Look at what the Clinton.
They are
camp is
focused
doing.
on Pennsylvania. That is true.
It is.
It's weird too.
And keep in mind with Pennsylvania, it's primarily election day voting. It's a late breaking state.
Right.
We're going to be there. A couple of times between now and the election. Mr. Trump has a great chance to win Pennsylvania.
Jason Miller, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jason.
Crazy election keeps going.
All right, thanks, Jason. Coming up here on the show, Donald Trump called this email bombshell back in the summer.
I don't like Uma going home at night and telling Anthony Weiner all of these secrets.
Well, it's a good point of putting him on his laptop, for that matter. Did anyone give Trump credit for calling Anthony Weiner a major security risk?
Plus, does Hillary Clinton need to fire Uma Abedin? Dana Perino is on the campaign chaos. You do not want to miss this. It's next. There she is. Come on in, Dana.
Is why we are calling on the FBI to release all the information that it has. Even Director Comey noted that this new information may not be significant, so let's get it out.
It might not be as rigged as I thought. Right? Right? The FBI, I think they're going to right the ship, folks. I think they're going to right the ship.
Right the ship. Dana Perino is here to help us right this ship this morning.
Help us.
I mean, that's a tall order.
And it reminded them, whatever's going on behind the scenes, whatever they're saying in private, whatever these paid speeches and open borders and all this stuff in private. And then yesterday with this FBI news, that they're reopening this investigation. I mean, think about how remarkable this is. 11 days out. We're now at 10 days out. 11 days out, the reopening and investigation. They must have found something big.
Well, this 11 days is a good point, because this is when those undecided voters who maybe, Trump has very high unfavorables, Hillary Clinton has high unfavorables. They're sitting back, they're saying to themselves, maybe I'll just sit this thing out. Right. They actually go to the polls. Where do you see the independent undecided voters moving in these last 11 days?
Well, the independents and undecideds are really looking for a change, and this is a change election. You see upwards of 3/4 of the country think that we're going on the wrong track, and they're looking for someone to put it back in the right direction. And that's where Mr. Trump's message of optimism, of economic growth, securing our borders, renegotiating these trade deals, these are all policies that can help American voters. And even talk about going on offense. Mr. Trump has had a very clear message, much different from Republicans.
They didn't tell me I was responsible for that.
Can you do it? Can you do it? So Republicans are super excited this morning, of course. They
cartwheels down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Right. It may not even just be about Donald Trump, but these down ballot candidates. How big of a deal
Well,
is this?
I do think I think it's true that we don't know what's in them. It's true that Comey was very vague. It's true that Democrats are excited and that Republicans are excited and Democrats are like, what in the heck are you doing, Comey? So separate that out. I actually think that Republican candidates in some of these battleground states, like the ones that were getting very close, Missouri, Indiana, Pennsylvania, this will help them a lot in the last 10 days because instead of having to talk about Donald Trump all the time, they can just focus all of their attention on the Democrats and Hillary, and they can say to their opponent, you tell me why you support Hillary Clinton. Are you comfortable with this? And it changes the topic for them going into
Well, that's
election day.
exactly right. And it reminds all of us that Carlos Danger is not just this embarrassing tabloid figure, but he was, in effect, part of the inner circle because he's married to Hillary Clinton's closest aide.
Can I tell you, so yes, I tend to think of things through